Hello everybody and welcome in today's video. In today's video we have a special guest over on the channel, which is Dirk from another YouTube channel, the PrimeXBT Trading Academy, where we are going to have a interesting talk with today. And guys, the videos that Dirk is making are very impressive. He's showing a lot of similar signals that we are actually showing on the channel. We have a same perspective on the markets. But yeah, I was quite impressive when I've looked at the videos from Dirk, how actually to the point they are. They're very short, to the point, bringing in a lot of information such as price action, sentiment and on-chain statistics, giving you a great overview on how the market is looking right now. So guys, let's dive right into it. Hi Dirk, welcome to the channel, welcome to the blockchain today. Awesome to have you on the channel right here. Could you give us a small introduction of yourself and the YouTube channel, the PrimeXBT Trading Academy?
Sure, my pleasure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me today and for the kind invitation. Yeah, as you said, my name is Dirk Hartig and I'm the head of trading education here at PrimeXBT.com. And I'm what probably you would call a professional trader. So I've been a trader for 20 plus years now. Many of those years for institutional investors, such as banks and family offices. So know my way around for the last 2.5 years. I've been trading my own book now. And a couple of months ago, I was approached by PrimeXBT to ask me whether I would be interested to help them to build up an educational content for the clients. So the PrimeXBT Trading Education or School of Trading, we call it now, to really help the clients, have better chances in succeeding when they are trading and have a better experience to not have what a lot of newbies in trading out there that have the experience of starting to trade and then rather quickly burn through their money, to make them not fall into all of those small and big traps on the way of becoming a professional traders that I had to stumble in the hard way.
And you say you're already trading for like 20 plus years approximately, which is a very long time. You have a lot of experience. Since when are you active in the crypto markets?
In the crypto markets, I had the first contacts in 2014. And I remember back then I was working in Singapore for a family office. And on my way to the office, I always came in the morning and evening by a Bitcoin ATM. So they had those actually in Singapore back then already. And I remember I was thinking like, oh, what is this? What is this? Pardon my English, crap. Who wants to buy something like this? So I was still very, traditionally bank-minded when it comes to investing and trading. And this really changed all like 1.5 years later when somebody sat down and explained Bitcoin to me, and I took the time to read through the white paper, saw a lot of videos from Andreas Antonopoulos. And well, I think probably the same story everybody has once you fall down the rabbit hole when it comes to especially Bitcoin and of course also other cryptocurrencies, you cannot get out anymore. So actively now, let's say since 2016, and I've been trading Bitcoin mainly since 2017.
Okay. So kind of similar how my path went. I also got in contact with it early 2015. But also actively trading really since 2016 to 17. So it's quite interesting. So you have already seen the biggest part of the adoption of cryptocurrency, right? So how do you see the future of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general? Because there's a lot of different opinions out there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's always ask 10 different people and you'll get 10 different opinions about it. Well, the way I see it, and of course I'm a bit biased there because as you have guessed already, I'm very much into Bitcoin and fell down the rabbit hole. I think it's when it comes to currency, the currency of the future. So let me a little bit elaborate on this. Like 4 years ago, when I would ask somebody of my ex-colleagues at banks about Bitcoin, they would just stare at me saying, oh, what is this? This is joke money, internet money, magic internet money. And this has completely changed within the last 4 years. And you can see this now also with the institutional adoption that is going on. So we have banks like JP Morgan that are launching products for their clients to invest in Bitcoin. So if anybody tells you, there is no institutional demand, this is just not true. And fast forward 4 years from now, I'm pretty sure we'll have more countries to the likes of El Salvador also adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender. So what you can really see is this network effect par excellence, really. Network effect, I mean something like, good examples always Facebook. Facebook at one point got so big that everybody who wanted to do advertisement or wanted to do some social stuff online would have to go to Facebook, no way around them. And I think we're seeing the same, especially with Bitcoin now. And to other extents, of course, also with other cryptocurrencies, one of them being Ethereum, and maybe some potential other altcoins out there as well. So the future is bright, but of course, trade also that we still are going to see some volatility, because this is what a trader lives off, volatility. You don't want the flat line.
That's true. But in general, you really like leaning towards Bitcoin is the, I wouldn't call like Bitcoin maxi, of course, but Bitcoin is kind of the revolution right here, right? And the rest is less important, so to say, or what you?
I think it's not about important. I mean, if you look at some altcoin projects out there, there is some interesting stuff going on. I'm eyeing there at Uniswap, Polkadot, so everything that's like cross-chain swapping or decentralized goes into this and the direction of decentralized networks. But we have to be aware of one thing, in my opinion, that is that Bitcoin is miles ahead when it comes to this network effect. So if you look at other coins that also use the proof of work consensus, it's like Bitcoin has 100-fold the power in hashing. And this is something, that is very, very difficult for a new project out there to beat. And coincidentally, I just had a look in one of my shows and compared like what altcoin projects that were like very much hyped like 4 years ago, for example, what happened to them. And you see like 80% of those didn't really make it or are still not really progressing. And it's a little bit like when somebody would approach you now and tell you, hey, I'm going to make the next Facebook now. So you probably would also ask yourself, okay, how is he going to do that? What is he going to do better than Facebook? How is he going to take in account that Facebook is like miles ahead when it comes of user base and so on? Yeah, and that's why probably, and I think I'm leaning myself a little bit out of window, with the next 4 years, Bitcoin is also going to be the king.
Yeah, it's funny. We have completely similar views on that. I also really a true believer of Bitcoin. I think that is the revolution that we are in right now. And altcoins for a trader is very beautiful, profitable. But maybe as a long-term investment, it's still quite risky, right? So like on our channel, the blockchain today, we mainly focused on Bitcoin and Ethereum. But of course, there are plenty of opportunities in the altcoin space as well.
Of course.
Do you think it is worth investing in altcoins, or do you more see to them as like trading opportunities, or maybe a long-term investment as well, or some of them?
I think it is worth investing in some of them, but if you have like $10,000, let's say, I would always go down the direction of investing 80% into either Bitcoin and Ethereum or mix of both. Maybe take 10% that you invest in altcoin projects, because the risk reward is nice in those altcoin projects. If you have a small project and you throw $1,000 at it, and the bull market maybe continues, you have a good chance of 100-folding your money there. But I never would put like all my money into one of those small projects out there. By the way, the rest of the 10% I would use for trading then.
Yes, I do understand it. So are there any altcoins you are watching right now which you think are looking interesting?
Well, obviously Cardano. I think as a trader, you have to have that on your screen at the moment, especially because we are seeing nice and volatile moves there. And as I said, you're always looking for something like this as a trader. So it's a little bit, Cardano is acting a little bit like Ethereum on steroids, in my opinion. Maybe not the last 2 days, but if Ethereum goes up by 5%, you'll have Cardano going up by 10 or 15%. So this is very attractive. I very much like projects, DeFi projects like Polkadot and Uniswap, because I think they are doing something that Bitcoin is still missing in terms of decentralized trading, which probably is going to become a very, very big story within the next 4 years. But this is more from the eyes of investor. That for trading, I mainly try to concentrate really on the top 3 cryptocurrencies, because by the end of the day, you know, when Bitcoin or Ethereum goes up, you'll have a hard time finding a project in the top 20 that's going down at the same time. They are most of the time repeating to some extent, at least, what Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing in terms of price swings.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's also one thing you just said there, like the decentralization. A lot of these altcoins, they have the problem that they are not fully decentralized, right? But these other projects that are coming, these decentralized exchanges, I also think it's actually quite a trend which is starting right now, and also will continue to grow in the future. Right, so that could.
And I mean,
yeah.
The one example of it we saw, was it yesterday or 2 days ago, when Cardano had to shut down the network? And this is something normally you wouldn't be looking for if you think about decentralization. So something like this, of course, is not possible with Bitcoin, which does not mean that Cardano is a bad project. Sooner or later, all projects like this are, of course, facing difficulties on the blockchain. This is part of scaling technology.
Yes. And like, besides altcoins, maybe we later can have a look at some charts. Like we can,
Sure.
if we have some nice setups, we can have a look at that. But let's go to the following thing first, because one of the main advantages of like using the PrimeXBT platform is that you can trade different assets besides crypto as well, right? And you said you already are like a trader for 20 plus years, so you must have have a lot of experience in trading these other assets besides crypto, like commodities and forex. Is there a big difference in trading crypto than more traditional assets like stocks and commodities?
Yeah, I think there is, honestly speaking. I think, and if I look at cryptocurrencies and especially Bitcoin, we can still, you know, as a trader, you are always looking for market insufficiencies. You know, something where you have the feeling, okay, the price should be there right now, but it is not. So I'm going to buy or sell right now. And you stumble upon those in cryptocurrencies much, much more than in traditional assets, especially if you compare something like Bitcoin, for example, to Euro US dollar, which is the most traded Forex pair in the world. You'll have a very hard time finding the same setups as in Bitcoin, because there are so many market participants out there. There are so many banks that can put hundreds of millions of US dollars every year in developing trading strategies and algorithms for those markets. And this is something we don't, at least to that extent, in my opinion, we don't see in cryptocurrencies yet. That's why it's so attractive. So strategies like, you know, using simple Bollinger Bands with an RSI, not saying you should use that strategy now, please don't get me wrong, but you know, you can be quite successful still with strategies like this that absolutely would fail in traditional markets, especially in the Forex market. That was also the reason why I turned to crypto, because you know, as a trader, you are looking for these insufficiencies. And if I see like, okay, in Bitcoin, maybe I can find 5 or 7 nice setups every day, whereas in Forex, maybe if I'm lucky one, well, I'm going to focus, of course, on cryptocurrencies there. But of course, you still need to have an eye also on the traditional markets. And maybe, and please stop me if I'm talking too much. As I said already, I like talking about trading. And like, for example, what we are seeing in China right now with the Chinese real estate developer Evergrande, probably defaulting. They have like 300 billion US dollars of liabilities. So they have 1/3 of a Bitcoin market capitalization in depth. And it looks like they don't know a way out anymore, how to ever pay this back. So they are maybe going to default. This is going to have large effects, of course, on the real estate market in China, and also large effects probably on the worldwide financial markets. In a scenario like this, institutional investors will go risk off meaning they're going to buy the US dollar. So probably you see euro dollar going down maybe to parity. You see precious metals like gold and silver going up. And the big question here is, what is going to happen to Bitcoin then? Like, is that because Bitcoin is by institutional investors still perceived as a risky asset? And we saw this in the beginning of a Corona crisis. When the stock market crashed, the price of Bitcoin crashed also. And I think this is something when you're trading cryptocurrencies, you have to have in the back of your mind that there are factors influencing the prices that are outside of this intimate cryptosphere.
I literally couldn't agree more. Like, this is one of the topics we also like talk about. It's quite funny to see that we have a very similar perspective on the markets. So that's interesting. But what do you, the whole happening right now in China, right? Do you think that it can have any implications now on the short-term time frame as well? Like, could we see like a market crash soon, or what do you think about that?
It depends. I mean, this has been going on for quite a while now. So this is not the first time we hear of like liability problems in the Chinese real estate market. But as 2008, when we had kind of this also going on in the US market with the US housing crisis, it's always very hard to predict when the crash is actually going to happen. This could still go on for months and even years without nothing happening. So don't try to speculate on when a crash is going to happen. It's just going to cost you money. And but you know, what I do is I like to have a look every morning at the news, and you know, once I see things are brewing up more and more, I might think about reducing my positions. And so if a crash is coming, for sure, it would have a huge impact also on cryptocurrencies, but I don't know when it's coming and if it's coming anytime near. I hope, of course, not, because I think when it comes to Bitcoin and Co, the next 3 months are going to be really, really, really interesting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Let's bring that all to the charts like later. We are going to have a look at we're going to bring up the Bitcoin charts. Maybe we can also have a look at the Chinese market or at the S&P 500. Maybe something if you see something there. And yeah, do you have any tips or advice for people who are just starting out, who are just starting their trading journey? What would you give them as a piece of advice?
Well, a lot of tips, actually, of course, but I think the most important 2 tips I can give everybody out there are, first of all, you have to treat trading like a business. You know, it's when you make a decision to enter a trade, you have to have an underlying reasoning why you do it. Why are you entering the trade? And especially, when are you going to exit the trade? Yeah, when is like your thesis, why you entered the trade, your hypothesis, proven wrong? So this is really, with beginners, a lot of times that I see, you know, they enter the trade, and if you ask them, so, okay, why did you go long Bitcoin here now? They're like, oh yeah, I had the feeling it's going up. Probably not really to just you know, depend on your feeling to go up. So you really have to dive a little bit deeper than this. And it doesn't matter if you use fundamental facts that you read about as a explanation for your trade, or if you solely rely on technical indicators, you know, whatever suits you. There are many ways that lead to success there, really. So this is the first one. Treat it as a business. I always like to compare, if you have a shop shoes, and you know, you saw this awesome model of a shoe where you think like, hey, this is something my clients totally would dig, and I'm going to order this and put it on display outside, and it's going to be the hit and selling like crazy. And then probably suddenly the reality is nobody wants to buy it. So would you get the idea then to order more of those shoes, because you hope, like, if I display more of them, things are going to change and people are going to buy them? Probably not. At least I hope you wouldn't do that. You would cut your losses. And that's the same with trading. When you entered a trade, the trade goes against you, and you've reached like your maximum pain, the maximum amount of money you were willing to risk on this trade. Exit the trade, you know, cut your losses there. And this really ties into the second tip, which probably is even more important. Don't be emotionally attached to your positions. Being wrong is part of trading, and this is totally natural. I'm wrong every day in a couple of trades as well. The important thing always is by the end of a day or the end of a month is, have you earned more than you have spent? And if that is true, all is good, you know. And bear in mind, if you have a nice risk reward ratio, so if you're aiming on always earning twice as much as you are risking, you can be correct with your trades below 50% of the time, and you're still going to earn money with that. So that's really something nice. And by emotionally attached, I of course mean that nobody likes to be wrong. And I understand that. And this leads to, once a trade goes against the position, when you're a beginner trader, of, oh, I'm going to enter the trade again to, you know, reduce my purchase price. And once it goes up again to my price, I'm going to sell it then. And yeah, sadly, this will not work out very often, probably, until your account is going to zero.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think this is also the main difference between, you know, a so-called institutional trader and a retail trader, although I don't like the word very much. But usually institutional traders, they have a game plan. They know, like, okay, I'm going to enter the trade now because of this and that. And if I'm proven wrong, it means the price goes into this direction, I'm going to cut my losses and move on without giving a second thought.
Yeah, it's more rational decision making instead of emotional based, right? So what you also said before, right? I recognize this, you know, like a lot of people make that mistake that when they enter a certain trade and the trade goes against, then you don't want to feel like you're losing, right? So you're just holding because you haven't lost, right? And you're just holding and hoping that it will turn the other way, but actually it's not. And therefore, I think it's a good tip that you give, that there should be a clear validation, but it also should be, maybe even more important, the clear invalidation, right? Like, when is something invalidated?
Absolutely.
So what are some examples?
Absolutely, I couldn't have said it better.
Well, what are some examples that you use for like a clear invalidation? Like divergences, or maybe like losing a key support, or even the backtest first? Or
I mean, for example, there's like a potentially interesting setup at the moment in Bitcoin, in my opinion. You know, we have been oscillating between around about 44,000 US dollars and 47,000 US dollars since the market crashed last week. And I noticed, you know, every time the market goes up to the 47, the chances are quite high that we are going to reject that zone and go down again. And a good trading setup there would be now, okay, maybe I do a short position now in Bitcoin because I think it's going down to 46 or 45, 45 and a half, but I would place my stop loss, for example, at 48,000, because that would mean we are breaking out of the zone and I'm wrong. So
exactly,
very, very, very simple trade, but with very favorable risk reward setups.
So funny, I was just right before we were calling, I was also looking at the Bitcoin chart, and I was seeing already it has really some troubles to fight that 47K area. We are seeing some divergences also already, right?
Exactly.
So it's a bit, it looks like we could be seeing a rejection there. So funny that you bring that up right now. So, but we will save the charts for the last part, right? So you have any more? Sure. You have any more like typical mistakes what beginners could make besides like these validations and invalidations?
Yeah, I think one mistake I see almost with every trading beginner, and I'm including myself several times there when I was starting, is over leveraging. Like, for example, just because you are able to utilize a leverage of 1 to 100, for example, which PrimeXBT offers in Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that you have to utilize it always, because keep in the back of your head, like, US on your account in Bitcoin, and you want to utilize the whole leverage, you're going to have a position size of 100,000. And if the market just moves 1% against you, which is like this, especially in cryptocurrencies, within seconds, you know, you're going to be thrown out of a market and your money's gone. So, you know, try to maybe stay with a low leverage of 1 to 3, 1 to 5, maybe even 1 to 10 for the beginning. It's going to make your life much more stressless, really.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah, I think that's a great advice too. Yeah, if you over leverage, like if you leverage your capital, it also, that's always what I say, it leverage your emotion too. So if you would
Oh yeah,
trade on the
definitely. Yeah.
spot like 1 to 1, you have already emotional feelings like
Yeah.
panic or euphoric if you win or lose, right? Depending how much you are emotionally involved. But with leveraging capital, you also leverage your emotional side, which is the most difficult part
Yeah.
to handle as a trader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, by the way, something that never goes away to a certain extent, that once you're right, and maybe you have been right for a couple of times, have a great week trading, and you feel like, oh, I'm the king of the market, I've cracked the system, I know how the market works, then it's always most of the time the moment when the market proves you wrong again, that you're not the king of the market.
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, this is the emotional roller coaster you go through as a trader. Yeah. And by the way, this is also why I say, it's always nice to trade on a demo account for sure, but this emotional side of trading you cannot experience on a demo account. So the sooner you start to trade, at least with some funds, and nobody says like put in all your funds immediately into trading, but with some funds, then you can kind of learn like, oh, okay, there's this other side of of being emotionally attached to my trading and my positions that I didn't know about when I was trading on the demo, and I didn't care, if I lose or win money.
So what would you recommend? Like how many percentage of your total investment HODL portfolio would you use for like trading?
A maximum of 20%, in my opinion. Don't go for more, because as history shows, hodling is still the best and most profitable strategy when it comes to Bitcoin. Almost impossible to have been wrong there in the past 12 years. And but as we also see, the market likes to move in cycles, in those 4-year cycles. And if we are not invalidated now, it could mean that we see a potential cycle top again in maybe late December or early January. And then the market should enter a bear phase again. And in this bear phase, why not, use then the 20% to trade a little bit more?
But yeah, that's true. But are you not scared like that this topping at the end of this year or January? Are you not scared that it might not happen due to the fact that these models are like, some models are pointing to it, and maybe some, like the majority is expecting this like gigantic euphoric stage we have seen in 2017 coming towards the end of the year, and including me, yeah, like I'm having that same, but sometimes I have a second thought, like
that's.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you should have. It's really very healthy that you have that, like that you question yourself. Yeah, of course we have to be careful. And I said earlier, this next 3 months are going to be interesting. Actually, particularly interesting because a lot of those popular models out there, I'm looking there especially at something like stock to flow by Plan B, which I personally think it's a great model. It's a great statistical model, really describing very well the price development of Bitcoin. But this model says, okay, within the next 3 months, we should see really nice price swings to the north side to around 100,000 in Bitcoin. And so the next 3 months are a little bit of a break it or make it situation for this model. And by the way, other models out there as well. So if they are proven right, wow, great. I mean, basically you have cracked the market then with a statistical model, which is something unheard of. But as you just, I think, hinted at, the market tends to do something nobody's expecting. So we could either see a lengthening of a cycle, like this bull market, or maybe even a sideways markets with a slow increasing prices continues throughout maybe even 2022 and 2023. So there are analysts out there also pointing into this direction. Or by the end of the day, maybe we are all wrong. Maybe 64,000 was already the top, and we are in a bull trap at the moment.
Yes,
I personally don't believe that, but of course, it's something you have to take into account. Always question yourself. Don't be too biased. Yeah.
True, and I was looking at your channel, and I'm seeing that you also include like on-chain statistics on your channel, right? You're looking at on-chain metrics too, and those are all pointing towards the continuation of the bull market, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, it's also something I would use for that. Yeah. And if we have a look at the
but
sorry.
No, please continue, please.
Oh yeah.
Please, no. I just want to say, like, Like that is always, you know, there could always be a black swan event around the corner, something like China. No model can take something like this into consideration.
Exactly, and that is also something I'm quite interesting about, because I personally also think like a stock market crash, or at least a correction, is coming sooner and sooner, and this is something we have to watch with crypto, because they are so correlated still at the moment. It's not like right now everybody, the consensus is not like, yeah, we all use Bitcoin because similar as gold. It's not correlated with gold at all right now. At least I've seen even an inverse correlation. Gold goes up, Bitcoin goes down, all the way around, right? Yeah. So very interesting. But if we have a look at the adoption of Bitcoin, then it is growing exponentially, especially lately, with even countries like El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as a legal currency. What do you think? Which challenges do you think the adoption of Bitcoin will face in the coming years?
I think we are on the brink of that now, once we get into this phase where Bitcoin starts challenging national currencies, we are going to have a huge challenge. Like if I imagine now, for example, for the Eurozone, you know, I'm residing in Germany, and like you see Bitcoin taking over more and more the function of a euro, you can be sure that there would be some kind of intervention either by the central bank or by the countries. And countries can make it very quick, very difficult for its citizens to own Bitcoin. They could simply say, okay, every German, to stick with its example, is not allowed to own Bitcoin anymore. You know, it's if you own Bitcoin, you're going to jail. So pretty much like what we saw, I think it was in the 70s with gold back then. Yeah. And so that, or they could impede taxes, like very high taxes. You know, you have to 50% on it in transactions you do in Bitcoin to make it like very not very achievable for people to really use this as a legal tender. So I would expect actually that something like this, at least to some extent, can happen. I hope, of course, that our worldwide governments are so smart not to do that, and to, on the contrary, embrace that technology and all the positive effects it can bring. But yeah, I mean, we are also attacking now the financial industry, a multi-trillion-dollar revenue industry per year, and they are not going to go down without a fight, for sure. Yeah, once Bitcoin starts, you know, reaching in their pockets, because it's essentially about taking out the middleman. And this is what we see. I literally in El Salvador now, they said like, oh, because of El Salvador now having Bitcoin as a legal tender, probably Western Union is going to have $400 million less in revenue. And Western Union, because of those overseas transfers. And so this is the beginning. It's not going down without a fight, the traditional industry. And maybe it's coming from a direction I cannot foresee, but you know, in the long run, I'm an optimist, and I think it will succeed because it cannot be shut down, really.
That's the network effect as well, right? Like once it's reached a certain point of adoption, it is very hard to stop the global worldwide adoption. And maybe we can also see like some competition in countries. So like, let's say Holland would say like, oh yeah, crazy taxes. And then people would move their companies over to South America or something like that, you know, companies fighting each other with these.
This is exactly exactly what Michael Saylor said, I think a couple of months ago when he was asked this question. He said basically like, well, okay, if America doesn't want me anymore, then I say, F you, I'm moving to Singapore with a company, you know, and they are embracing this technology there. So you might see some competitions between countries for sure.
I really love how bold Michael Saylor is, and how he's just really, it looks like really speaking from the heart, you know, like he's not really like winding around the story. He's just like going straight into it, you know. I love it. You can see it also in his.
Imagine the pressure he's getting, you know, at least in the beginning. Now maybe not anymore, but in the beginning, the pressure he probably got from shareholders and other members of his management board out there. Wow. But yeah, you gotta really, I think, I don't know if I would have been so brave, probably not.
Yeah, that's the right word. That's brave. Exactly. So yeah, Dick, you're a professional trader, and we're actually quite curious. How does a typical day look like of a professional trader?
Well, probably not so much different from the day your audience has out there. So, I have my daily morning routine where I like to spend some time with my family, get up at around 6, arrive in the office at around 8 o'clock. I always do 2 things in the beginning there, or 3 things. The most important is I make myself a coffee and have a coffee to get really awake. Then I read through the news. If there's anything, that really springs out, anything I haven't noticed yet. And it also gives you like a general feeling for how's the sentiment at the moment out there. Then I like to do a sentiment analysis for my day trading strategies to see in terms of Bitcoin, are we more in a fearful sentiment at the moment? Then I might concentrate more on short trades that day. Are we in the sentiment of greed? Then I might concentrate more on long trades in my day trading strategies. Yeah, and then I sit in front of my screens for the next hours. If it's a short day, 10 hours. If it's a long day, 14 to 15 hours. Always depends on how much is going on for the market. And I continuously tell myself to be patient and not jump into trades without finishing my analysis. Yeah. But I think the older I get, the more important also becomes, to take breaks. To go out for a walk, get some fresh air, get some movement, drink enough water. So yeah, and I mean, I don't want to compare myself with like any athletes out there, but what you see always, for example, with professional athletes like tennis players or golf players, they always have this routine before any shot they take. They always do the same stuff because they want to make the shot repeatable. And this is also what I'm trying to do when it comes to prepare myself for the day.
Yes, that sounds good. Yeah, I think that's also good advice to everybody, right? To make sure that you are in the best condition, that you can focus quite well, because it's also quite difficult to have this attention span on the screen, right? If you look too long at the stream, you also can feel like your head is going to explode, And if we
absolutely.
And if we have a look at
this is always
Sorry,
go on, please.
And if we have a look at certain indicators, what do you think are one of the most important indicators to use in your trading analysis?
I think one of the most important, and this will sound very cheap, honestly speaking, but I think the most important indicator are moving averages, especially in cryptocurrencies. There is so much focus, especially on the 200 days moving average and on the 50 days over moving average. I think right now we are having this so-called golden cross again there in Bitcoin, where the short term, the 50-day moving average crosses the 200-day moving average from the bottom upwards, which is usually a very bullish line. And this is true because I know a lot of traders and banks and hedge funds out there are looking at those for their own trading strategies. And that's why I said mine sounds very cheap, but it's the truth. And I don't want to question the truth there. When it comes to intraday trading, it's a little bit more complex usually because I use a lot of statistical models and forecasting by artificial intelligence. So I have a lot of data that I run through so-called artificial intelligence, so forecasting model every morning to see like where could be the upper and lower bands of trading at the moment. And then I try to go short at the upper bands, try to go long at the lower bands. Or I simply really look at support and resistance lines. And this trade I was just talking about, when I see Bitcoin oscillating between 47, 44, this is something I like to play because support and resistance, and this goes for all markets, by the way, are very strong. Also, again, because everybody's looking at them and they tend to have a very favorable risk-reward ratio. Plus, of course, you can also take into consideration something like an RSI, but not as a classic indicator. If you put different RSI over each other, different lengths, you can find what is it called, divergences.
Divergences.
We are using word, for it, which also might tell you where the market turns. So this is a very powerful tool. In general, I think, especially as a beginner, don't try to do too much. Try to focus on support and resistance. Try to focus maybe on an indicator or two. That's enough. And then just watch the market. And slowly, you get kind of a feel for how the market is behaving. Now, I said earlier, don't rely on your feeling, but the longer you trade, of course, you develop kind of a feel. You see something when the candlesticks and think, oh, this is kind of odd. Yeah, this is kind of odd. I had this feeling last week when we tipped down below 50,000. I thought, okay, this might be actually where a lot of stop losses are lying, or a lot of liquidations might occur. So I completely closed my long position, my trading long positions on Bitcoin there. And well, it turned out that was a good call. Yeah.
Yeah, you predicted that drop. You predicted that Bitcoin is going to reverse. You had a good call right there, right?
I was a bit lucky, so I don't have a crystal ball, obviously, here on my desk. But I saw this morning that the market was highly over leveraged, and I said this back then also in my daily show, where I said, usually in a scenario like this, all it takes is for Bitcoin to drop like by 3 or 4% to trigger this cascade of forced liquidations because of over leveraging, which then leads the market 10 or 50% lower. And this is exactly what happened. But of course, it was coincidence that it happened exactly on that day. I'm no oracle.
So you should we jump into the charts, and you can show us right now how Bitcoin looks?
Yeah, sure. Let's have a look. Let me just see how I can share this. I think this is this one. All right, I think you should see my
yes, I see
chart
it
now. All right, good. Yeah, so this is a 30-minute chart of Bitcoin. I'm using this today, to look for zones of entry and exit. And as I said earlier, I'm eyeing at the zone here up here. Let me use the brush at 47. So this is our zone of resistance. I think it's a good opportunity there to place some shorts, but as I also said, you need to keep in the back of your head, if we like pierce through to 48, and especially if we do that with a lot of volume, because that shows a lot of momentum, then it might be the time, to exit this position. If I'm right, the market should somewhere, consolidate down here again, maybe around 45,500. So I have to risk something like, what is that like at the moment, $900 to earn something like $1,500 per Bitcoin. So that's quite favorable in terms of risk reward. What you see below here, this is a RSI indicator. I think it's from tradingalpha.io, which I like to use to show divergences in the RSI. It can indicate and help you to find zones where the market is overbought or oversold. Like for example, in this zone up here, we saw the market struggling a little bit, and we saw a lot of those bear divergences in the market. So this is another indication for my hypothesis that we might go down again. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes, that's a very interesting find right there. And what do you think is one of the key support levels right now? Which if we lose that.
Well, let me maybe switch to a more long-term chart here. Let's see where have I this layout. Here we go. So, in my opinion, we have two really good support levels at the moment, and this is not for day trading now. This is a more long-term outlook. So, and these, by the way, these support and resistance zones, I got those by analyzing the on-chain metrics. So, looking onto the blockchain of Bitcoin, seeing like, okay, where are coins that were purchased by investors that are still at a loss or that are at a profit. And after the slump down here from 53 to 42, you now have the zone here. This was formerly, by the way, a support zone where investors that bought in this area are still holding onto their coins, but they are at a loss. And what you usually see in those zones is that once the initial purchase price is reached, there's going to be some selling action, because not everybody has like the long-term horizons. A lot of people are just, happy once they reach their break even again to get out of this and stop trading Bitcoin or whatever. And to an even more extent, you have this up here because those coins here in this area between 53,700 and 59,000 US dollars, they were purchased in this time frame between March and May. So those investors have been sitting on losses for quite some time now. So I would be really surprised, to see Bitcoin really like piercing through this at the moment, which super much momentum. But then again, on the other side, it's Bitcoin and anything is possible. When we look at the support from the on-chain metrics, I think this zone between 46 or 47 and 42,000 is really a solid support. For me personally, for my long-term positions, I also used those prices here already to build up position again, the ones I sold up here at 50,000. If we really go down in the area of 40,000, then everything between 31 or 30 and 40,000 really is strong support. Those are all those coin purchases now since July in this nice bull run of 60% we saw there that have their purchases here. And by the way, I don't believe without this black swan event that we are going down there, because like you mentioned earlier, and I think you talked about this in yesterday's video also, you see more and more coins being drawn off exchanges. So, and those coins usually go in really long-term cold storage. So my opinion, this is typical institutional demand we see there, purchasing coins and just putting them away for the next years or maybe eternity. And you see at the moment, because we are still in a sentiment that is somewhere neutral. Yesterday, actually, we were in a fearful sentiment, which means the short-term action of traders is more to the downside at the moment. So short-term traders are looking more for signals, for bear signals, like I just did as well. Yeah. But on the other hand, we have those long-term traders that are scooping up coins also, that are using these prices between 40 and 47 now to buy coins into long, deep storage. So the market is a little bit schizophrenic at the moment. And I think we also see this in the price action. I mean, look at those two candles here, it's like crazy.
Yeah,
like,
that was
up,
crazy.
down.
Yeah, that was really crazy.
Like, what is going on here? Yeah?
Yes,
and this is why it's so important that you always have your stop loss in place also, because you want to make sure this continues in the wrong direction, that you can get out of a market.
Exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, this is really at the moment my long-term game plan. This is, I think, a chart I also like to show every day on the show, because I think it's so important. And by the way, dear viewer, you can get all this information, and that's the good thing about the internet, also very easy, like if you read the weekly Glassnode report. So Glassnode, on-chain analyst company, and they you can find them on Twitter and in the internet, and they have a nice report that comes out every week, I think on Monday or Tuesday, where they go through all those metrics and translate them into, okay, this is probably what the future, the next weeks and months are going to hold for Bitcoin, and by the way, also Ethereum is covered there.
Yeah, I think that is also the good part from your channel when I'm watching your videos, is you really include everything. You look at the price action, you look at the sentiment, but you also look at the on-chain statistics, which actually are quite important as well, because they can align with what you see in the charts, and then it could be an extra confirmation for a scenario, right?
Absolutely. I think they are even more important than anything you can draw into a chart and any indicator you can use. And this type of information, like 10 years ago, for other asset classes, you would have not been able to get this information without paying large monthly fees. And now it's available for everybody for free. So, hooray, the internet and decentralization. This is really awesome. You just need to utilize those tools. And I think like something like on-chain metrics and also more fundamental facts always outweigh anything you can do with technical analysis. So technical analysis always is more, for the timing, or when you are in a market situation that is somewhat undecided, like we are right now, where you see like, okay, it's like going somewhere sideways. There's not much news out there. There's this nice meme where somebody pokes a Bitcoin with a stick. It says like, do something.
Come on,
so market situation like this.
Exactly.
Then these are the times, where technical analysis really is great for. But other than that, I always try, and I encourage everybody to do the same, to get a more holistic picture of what is going on.
Exactly. And if we have a look at Bitcoin, if we zoom out and we look a bit more in the coming months, maybe you can say something what you expecting or what you're looking at over the going towards the end of the year.
Well, I hope, of course, that we see that the quantitative models out there are going to be right. And if they are right, we are probably going to see something like this. And excuse my very crude drawings. My wife always says my drawing skills have stopped in 4th grade. So I'm only good at drawing stick figures. So probably we might see something like this, like an extended sideways range still. And, you know, keep there in the head of your mind also, Bitcoin, September usually is not a very favorable month for cryptocurrencies. So maybe we even go a little bit lower, maybe all the way down to 42, like Plan B is forecasting in his worst case scenario at the moment. But if the models are right, then in October we should really see the action pick up, and this could, you know, lead us all the way down to up to a new all-time high. And once that is reached and breached, well, the sky is the limit, because then we are in this area where there are, you know, where you cannot use on-chain metrics anymore to find support and resistance. You probably are going to have also then the media picking up. Like, one thing I noticed is like that in 2017, during this last phase of height, at least in Germany here, you had like the mainstream media, like, you know, the type of mainstream media, maybe my dad and my mom, who don't know anything about Bitcoin, they read to, and suddenly they started asking me like, oh, what is this Bitcoin? You know, is it worthwhile investing? So the broad public suddenly notices, hey, there's something going on, I should do this too. This typical FOMO, fear of missing out phase. And I think we haven't seen this today. There's almost no reporting in Germany, at least, going on in the mainstream media about Bitcoin, with the exception of last week when Bitcoin crashed to 42,000. Of course, that was picked up by the media.
Yeah, we
so
had like
the negative narrative still is the one that is mostly used there. And yeah, I'm still missing that. And I think if you look at Google search results for Bitcoin as well, they are quite low still, not at all like what we saw 2017. And once this hype really comes into effect, well, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, when the sky is really the limit, and we could very easily see prices then of 100,000, maybe even higher. You know, maybe some people out there are proposing something like 2, 3, 500,000. Yes. Everything is possible, but you have to be aware, I think, once you see this fear and greed index, this is such a nice and good tool here, the extreme greed again. And you notice this very quickly if you go then through Twitter, if you go through Reddit, for example, everything will be positive, like about Bitcoin. And this is always, you know, the moment where you should at least have some alarm bells ringing in your head. Don't cry. If you're aiming at, you know, with your trading position of trying to utilize this maybe bull trend, super bull trend we are going to witness now, don't try to catch the top. It's not possible. Very unlikely.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
if you can utilize like 80% of a way for yourself, it's great already. You have far exceeded anything that your bank will grant you in terms of interests.
I think always like the people,
so yeah, I hope, I mean,
like the people like you and me, we already experienced 2017. We have in that way an emotionally a great advantage to this bull market, because we already know how this craziness looks like, right? I remember, and this was my personal like fault back in 2017. I woke up 2017 when Bitcoin went to $20,000 and I was like, I'm not selling, because I'm not selling before 100K, you know? Like, in a hindsight, of course, exactly. There was ridiculous, like exactly at the top, right? But it gave me a lot of insights later. But it's interesting how the mind works if you're not like an active trader, or you don't have a developed skill in that, you know, experience. So yeah, that is quite funny. But yeah, that's good that you say.
And it's like, I had exactly the same like you, 2017. I also thought, okay, now it's going to blow off. We're going to see 30, 40, 50, and so on and so forth. And I was trading a lot of, or investing in a lot of altcoins back then as well, where I really, in the back of my mind, I already thought like I'm going to have 20 and 30 million on my bank account next month. And then it all came down. So no matter how long you've been trading, it's difficult not to be infected by this FOMO, by this fear of missing out.
Yes.
And one thing to deal with something like this, in my opinion, is when you use a scaling out strategy. Exactly like, when you're thinking of buying Bitcoin, instead of putting at one point all your money into Bitcoin, into a trading position, you could also scale yourself in, saying like, okay, if I have 5,000 to invest, I do an investment of 5 times 1,000. I buy now at 47. Maybe if a market goes down to 45, I'm going to buy the next 1,000 then, and so on and so forth. That way, you're not so dependent on catching tops and bottoms. And you can do the same on the way up, saying like, oh, okay, we're at 85,000 now. Well, I'm going to sell 1/5 of my position. Oh, we're at 100 now. Okay, I'm going to throw out the next fifth of my positions. So I'm still left with 3,000 long. So this is a super, super valid strategy, and it rewards you, because if the market then comes crashing down, you are still going to be in profit.
And you have liquidity to enter again.
You have liquidity to enter, yeah. And I think probably everybody that is trading out there wishes that they still had some powder in the keg to buy at 42,000 when the market came down.
Exactly. But I think one of the biggest questions the traders have right now is this correction already over? The drop we had seen from 53,000, is that correction just finished, or are we going to see like an ABC type of correction where we see one last wave down and then like continue this uptrend? I think it's very difficult to say that right now, right? But I think this is one of the main questions people are asking themselves right now, right?
I don't think so, because I see a lot of buying going on there as well, and I see a very low volume profile. So there's not much volume in the market. Normally, I would have expected more action in terms of volume after a crash like this, and maybe a continuation pattern. But it seems like the long-term holders were that maybe the same narrative we have. But we believe we still could see like 100,000 and offwards of this year and the upcoming month are really scooping up coins at these prices. And yeah, I'm actually, this could be, maybe I'm totally proven wrong today, and we even today see this upswing already to 48,000, which would change everything then, in my opinion, again.
Yeah, that would change it. Yeah.
Again, of course, I don't have a crystal ball here, so if you think that the viewer, if you think we are going to see this ABC pattern, well, then place your orders accordingly. If you plan to still go long, then why not place an order at 42,000 or at 40 or 38,000, wherever the pattern may resolve? Might be, might not be. I think really the chances, and I know this again sounds a bit cheap, are like somewhat 60-40 in favor of not seeing this pattern.
I think what you're just saying is might be really good advice for everybody, is that you should already place your orders and don't wait for the price till it comes and then try to buy it or catch a long position. I have often that I sleep in the night, next morning I wake up in a profitable position because the price dipped in that support area, and then it already bounced, and I was awake at that time. So that's a very good thing you say there, because that's maybe also one of the beginner's mistakes, that everybody wants to be there at the time that it happens. But this is also not good for your mental health,
and you're not going to catch that price, because most likely you'll execute your trade with a market order.
Yes.
And then there's a delay between you clicking actually the mouse button and the order being executed at the exchange, and suddenly you get a whole different price. Not because the exchange wants to do something bad to you, just because there has been so much going on within just a couple of milliseconds. It took you to press them off. So yeah, I always have orders ready in the market to the upside and to the downside, in case we have a scenario like we saw last week, where the market drops by 10 or 15%. And you just want to scoop up some action. Great trade. I mean, if you were able to get in there at 43, wow. That's really some awesome. Easy bucks within just a couple of minutes.
Exactly. If you can define support and resistance very clearly, then it's good to set that up. Yeah. Hey Dirk, should we should we go to the last part? I think we can talk like hours
Yeah,
on the price action, but I think where people also are very interested in is in a certain trading strategy. Maybe you can share
Mm.
like your trading strategy or one of your trading strategies with us. That would be
Sure.
awesome.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the most profitable trading strategy is always, buy Bitcoin and hold on to it. But if you do that with 80% of your money, last years have proven that it's very hard to lose money with this type of strategy. But when it comes to more like, day trading strategies, I think one good thing is not everybody out there probably, or most of our viewers that are watching right now, don't have like the time to sit in front of a screen for 10, 12 and 14 hours. You probably have a job that you're going after, have to get up in the morning, have to get ready for work and so on and so forth. And at work, you probably don't have the time to look at charts. At least your employer wouldn't like that if you do that. So please don't do that. So one thing that can be extremely profitable, in my opinion, is get up in the morning, maybe take like 10 or 20 minutes where you look at charts, where you look at the news, and then you decide for yourself, okay, where do you think the direction is going to be today? Where do you think the top and the bottom is going to do today? And we can do this with an example. So if I look at the sentiment today, 49, which is neutral, which means there's a balance between short-term traders expecting rising and falling markets at the moment. That translates for me into, well, today for a day trading strategy, I can probably choose both sides. I can do long trades, I can do short trades, because there's nothing, no side is favored at the moment. And then you just go really into the chart and determine where is the nearest support, where's the nearest resistance, like I did here. And I found out, okay, the resistance at the moment is somewhere around this area of 47 to maybe 47,400. We're in a neutral sentiment, means I can take trades on both sides. Okay, I'm going to short the market up there. I'm going to place my stop loss up here. I'm going to also get an order ready in case the market goes down, maybe at 44,000 or slightly above that with a stop loss. And then I can close my laptop and go to work. And when I come home at night, I'll see if my orders were executed and if my trades were profitable or if my stop losses were triggered. This takes you like 10 minutes with a little bit of exercise and routine, 10 minutes, maybe in the beginning, like 20 or 30 minutes every morning. Very easy, very much able to do for somebody. So trade supports and resistances for beginning. Stick to that. It will be, because you always have a situation there, or most of the time, where your take profit target is higher than the stop loss you are risking. So you're potentially earning more money with a trade than you are losing. This is called risk reward ratio. And if you are there somewhere between 1.5 to 2, you can be correct in just 43% of the time, and you are still not going to lose money. And this is always the most important thing in the beginning. Try to get to a point where you're not losing money anymore. And then you can build up upon this. So really very simple. I made it just simple for me because I'm using this for so long, but this is something everybody can do. Apart from this, really watch good channels out there, like the Blockchain Today channel, which gives like great tips and really on alerts you on time on formations that might be forming out there and hint out where might be good areas to take a position. That also helps. But the emphasis really is on good channels. A lot of people out there, obviously, that are not good doing this, but luckily the Blockchain Today is one of the good ones.
Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, Dirk. Much appreciated. Yeah, I think the strategy you're just pointing out is exactly one of the best strategies, because you can very easily set your risk to reward ratio. You have your entry at resistance, stop loss above the resistance in case of it breaks, and your target is way below. So your target, like you say, your take profit is way higher than the risk that you actually take, right? And most of the time, we either have rejection at resistance and bounce at support. The chance of a breakout is always smaller than the chance of like continuing the pattern we already in. So that's maybe, yeah, that's a really great strategy that you're sharing here with us.
And do yourself a favor also, do not try in the beginning to trade something like 1 minute or 5 minute charts. It's not worth your time. Stick to something like, you know, hourly, 4 hours is something I like, especially, or daily charts. They give you almost the same information without the noise, and you don't continuously have to stare at your screen.
Yes. Wow, Dirk, so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Very insightful.
My pleasure.
I want to thank you for coming over on the channel today and share your knowledge with us. That is very much appreciated. And for everybody who's watching right now, I want to ask you to follow Dirk over on the PrimeXBT Trading Academy, as he's making great videos about the crypto markets. And I will put a link to his channel down below this video, so you can go over there, check him out. And if you like this video with Dirk, make sure to drop a thumbs up, and I hope to see every single one of you in the next video.